you want to do roll call?
Sure. Steve Lewis.
Here.
Matthew Armbruster.
Here.
David Pierce.
Ethan Sedona?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that Dave has an excuse to miss this meeting.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we'll keep on with the roll call. Danielle Woodward,
Here.
Julie Kaufman,
Yes.
and Steve West.
Here.
Doris Roberts.
Here.
I can't remember. Okay,
Now we give a minute for community comments. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Oh, okay. That sounds good. I'm Nancy Clark. I'm president of the board for Bulls Run Nature Sanctuary in Arboretum. And I started with the organization in 1981 as their naturalist, and now we have this naturalist, Melissa Prophet. So we have, we have a small board, smaller than yours. At one time when I first started, it was a 17-member board. And it was mostly people who just wanted to have their names associated with it. And right now, we have a volunteer board that is actively involved with all the different variety of things that we do. We try to have at least one public event every month. With the spring now, it's gonna be almost 5 activities for the spring months. And we are open to having anybody come and volunteer. We do the maintenance. We realize it is a city park. And I do need to talk to somebody, we have to figure out who, to reorganize the lease that has lapsed. That would be you? Okay, then I will need your contact information.
print card. I will get that to you.
Okay,
before-
that'd be
You guys
great.
sticking around, or you?
I told them they didn't have to stay.
Oh, okay,
I can, I don't know what.
No,
what's going on.
I have Melissa's.
yeah,
I was
okay,
gonna say,
I'll
I
get
actually
it.
do.
I brought these wonderful brochures that have the most
Okay.
updated contact information.
Perfect. You're on it.
So I'm
I'm
gonna
out.
leave one, and I'll leave one with
Yes.
you, and anyone else that would like one. If you open up to the inside first trifold page, if you fold that one back one, right here is all of our current contact information. Email, phone number.
Those two.
Oh,
Yeah,
there's
I
one
love
as
one.
well. It'll
Yeah,
come
thank
around.
you so much.
Of course. There you are.
Thank you.
Melissa joined us 2 years ago.
I was gonna say these days.
Well, I'm on year 3, so yes.
So she had been a board member, and, when she heard we were needing another naturalist, she said, "Can I apply?" I said, "Yes." And anyway, I'm gonna let her talk about, some of the things that they've been going on, and I have a calendar of events that we planned out for the year. So I'll leave that with them as well.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for having us here. So yeah, my name is Melissa Prophet, and Bulls Run Arboretum is my other hat that I wear. So I actually work as an environmental education specialist for the Warren County Soil and Water Conservation District. I work a lot with Butler's SWCD as well. I know Doris through multiple hats that I wear. But the reason I wanted to, kind of come back to Bulls Run. So to back up a little bit, I joined the board in 2013 as a board member when I was in graduate school. That's when I encountered Nancy at a public event. I was like, hey, what's this? I've lived in the area this whole time. And I always say we're still one of the best kept secrets, right? We're working on that. When I moved out of the area, I left the board, and now we're back in the area. Me and my family live in Monroe, so not too far. And they were looking for a naturalist. And it's a very much volunteer-based organization. So the naturalist is a extremely part-time position. It's the only paid position. And so that does kind of create a situation where there is sometimes a lot of turnover, which can be detrimental to connections that we make in the community, right? So I was like, if what the hours that I have to offer you guys around my other job works for the organization, then great. We're on year 3 now, and it seems like it's working out okay. So it's really my love for that 11-acre space here in Middletown that keeps me coming back. And as you can tell, I'm a nature nerd, so I get very excited about what I do. The programs that we kind of have every year, kind of our flagship programs, if you will, is a program called Nature Tots. It's actually geared towards our youngest members in our community. It's 18 months to 8 years, and their caregivers. So it's about how do we get kids started in nature, but also how do we teach adults to let their children safely explore nature, right? And kind of start making that appreciation early on and kind of renew that appreciation with the adult folks. And then, as Nancy said, we do at least one program each month. These are always free to the public. We advertise them on our website. We also advertise them through social media. Our 2 upcoming ones I brought flyers for. I did not print out the flyers for everyone just because of conservation saving paper, but I will leave 2 flyers here, so if you guys want to take pictures of them, you can. One is our park work days. So this is where we actually will have volunteers come out. It's usually every other Saturday. We set the specific dates because occasionally, like Easter weekend, we will skip one. So it's not kind of, set in stone. So we give the exact dates. But basically, we are out there from 9:30 to 1 p.m. and anyone who wants to come join us is welcome to join us. We have them fill out a city waiver when they come out to volunteer with us. And we keep that on file each calendar year. So those are gonna start back up in March 22nd. And then our other programs that we have coming up are the spring wildflower walks. We have a lot of ephemeral spring wildflowers, which means they only bloom sometimes for a few days to a couple weeks. So in March and April, we're actually doing a walk every Sunday afternoon to see the new things that have bloomed. And again, this is something that anyone in the community is welcome to come join us, right? Learn kind of what's popping up in our own backyards. And then certainly we do have a membership base as well. So, the more connections we have with the community, the more connections we have, with all of you, the better it just helps, I think, for us all to kind of promote why do we need these green open spaces in our communities. In the summer, we also do a prairie walk. So we do have 1 acre that is prairie that we keep. We have a great volunteer who comes in and mows it twice a year for us, so we can keep those woody species down. And we do a prairie walk as well in August when everything's in their beautiful purples and yellows. Do you guys have any questions for Bulls Run?
Go ahead and tell them about the educational grant that you got
From Middletown Community Foundation, yeah. So, in previous years, the Naturalist has sometimes been available to go into schools, do school programs, we do field trips. Because this is a second hat for myself, my schedule is not as available sometimes to go into our classrooms. So in 2023, we actually applied for an education grant through Middletown Community Foundation, and we created several education loan kits. So about different Ohio wildlife. There's a Get Out in the Trails and Discover backpack. And so these are available for any educator in Monroe, Middletown, Trenton area if they want to borrow for their classrooms or use on a field trip to Bulls Run. Because it is a place that is pretty cost effective for our schools. We do charge for our students to come out. So those have actually been, kind of a big hit. I have a Girl Scout troop that I'm meeting up with tomorrow because they're gonna use one of the kits because they're bringing the troop out. So that's been a really nice way that we've been able to fill, something that we have traditionally been offering at Bulls Run, even though me as the naturalist can't always get into the classrooms all the time. And sometimes from a scheduling perspective, I think sometimes it's easier on the teachers to be able to borrow materials than try to schedule, a person to come in live as well. So those are something that, all of those are listed on our website. So if you are interested in what those kits are available, if you work with other community groups that would be interested in borrowing those kits from us, certainly feel free to share that information.
So when I started with the organization, the schools were allowed to carpool to come to the Arboretum. So it was easy to get schools there. And then it went to buses, and then we tried a bus fund, and then, so it's evolved over the 40+ years that it's been in existence.
And we do still have field trips come out. Second grade in Middletown, a couple of different elementaries come out each April. That tends to be a pretty steady field trip that we have. And then we also have done work with the Edge Teen Center, if anybody is familiar with that organization. They work with high school students from Marshall High School, and we get them out kind of doing some volunteer work, pulling invasive plants, things like that. And then they get a chance to kind of learn about the environment and the different plants that they're taking care of.
So we appreciate the assistance we do get from the city as far as removing hazardous trees, especially since we have so many ash trees that got fed to the everyone dash fours. And we right now are in the process of submitting for a grant, we just put it in last weekend. The bridges that are now 40+ years old need to be refreshed. So the Metro Parks of Butler County just posted their grant as well.
Okay.
So we'll talk about that later. But anyway, so we're working towards that. The Middletown Garden Club is redoing the one sign that is right out front, and we're working with them. They're going to be replanting it, and then we have to figure out how to have our signs so that we can advertise when we have an event coming up on the weekend. So we have to work
Did
out
you
those.
mention, do you have like online, a website that all this?
Mhm.
Yes,
It
so
should be
on
on
the-
inside the
in-
pamphlet?
yes,
Okay.
ma'am. So yeah, and the brochure is our website, and on the website will be our calendar of events.
Okay.
And I
Information about our education programs, and then also the previous newsletter. So we do a quarterly
That's the most
newsletter out to the community as well, and that will be posted on our website. So we have some folks that are still getting it mailed, and then some folks are accessing it through the website.
Are your dates corresponding with what's on a city website?
So we do have a board member, who submits our dates to
Okay.
the city calendar,
I don't-
and that's been a
That's-
great way to
yeah,
share.
that's good.
So yeah, so Randy Wilson is our land stewardship gal on the board, and so she typically is submitting those dates. I know that we coordinate with Keep Middletown Beautiful for the Earth Day Volunteer Day every year, which is great. So we're definitely, the more in anything, that we can be involved with, that other parks are doing here in the city, we're definitely very eager to keep community relations going and growing.
And realizing that we are unique in that it's not a playground per se facility, it is a nature-based area. We do have the picnic shelter, and during the, let's see, April through November, we do rent a porta potty. But if that's something that we can get the city to foot the bill for, that would be wonderful.
How do you get your funds?
It's all donations and whatever grants we can come up with. So we just put out another appeal. The newsletter has a membership fund. The Nature Talk program she mentioned is included in a family membership. So that's a free program, and then all the other programs are free.
Yeah, our memberships really tend to just be folks who want to donate each year to us, because, the membership fee for the whole year for a family membership is $40. So, that gets all of their Nature Tots programs. But again, you can really enjoy most of our programs without having to be a member.
Right.
But folks that tend to come out and appreciate what we're doing and want to support what we're doing tend to be who signs up for memberships.
I stand corrected. We do have one fundraiser. We do a week of reading at Light Up Middletown.
Oh, yeah.
So we get those donations. At one point in time, we had two other fundraisers. One was a plant sale. Actually, Armbruster's worked with us on that, but it's been a number of years since we've been able to do that, just because our board members are getting older. And then we used to do
The
the rummage sales, yeah.
But again, the lady who helped us with that has said it's time to let that go, which
Yeah.
is completely understandable.
Our main one is Light Up Middletown.
Do you plant trees? Is that part of the, what you're
Right
doing?
now, we did at the beginning, and we have reached basically our capacity as far as memorial trees. Just because of the way trees grow, we don't have enough
You don't need
canopy
any
space.
more.
We really don't need
Right.
any more.
In the way, so have you guys all been to the Bulls Run? Okay, then if you haven't, go. But you might notice, if you remember, there's the fence. So in front of the fence is kind of what we term the arboretum, and those are the marked trees, those are the memorial trees. Behind the fence is kind of where that nature preserve is. And every year we are planting native tree seedlings
Yeah.
back there. However, those are not being marked, they are not, memorial trees. So we are doing that just for the ecological integrity of the park and trying to increase the diversity of native plantings.
Especially since we've lost so many of the ash trees. And so we're trying to control not only the bush honeysuckle, but the winter creeper and autumn olive and a few other things.
Right, Tree of Heaven occasionally
Yeah.
pops up in there still. And we've been working with the state forester, you guys might be familiar with Pat Nigazelli. But he actually came out because we were looking to get some federal funding, that is on pause, so we will hopefully be able to revisit that next year.
So when she is not available, I try to fill in. I work part-time now, so there have been occasions when I've been.
Oh, yeah, no, I always say this is my hardest working board, not that I love my other board too, but my Bulls Run board, because there's so few of them, it's great because, you know, they're at my events and they're, you know, they're doing all the same work too.
So we've been present at National Night Out and, you know, other things, so. But it's still, like she said, we're still one of the best kept secrets in the country.
Anybody have any more questions?
Okay, I
Did we
thought
play softball
We
together?
did.
I knew it, it's been several years, we get to see you.
I thought I brought the event calendar, but I think it's still laying on the dining room table.
Good news is you go to that website and we'll have all of our dates on the
Yep.
site.
Thank you guys for coming.
Well,
in.
certainly.
Appreciate
Yep.
it.
Yeah, thank you
Absolutely.
very much.
But yeah, our contact information, you know, feel free to reach out, any
Yeah, we'll-
questions,
we'll-
any, you know, any partnership opportunities, you know, we're all here for that, so.
So
Thank you
so
guys.
much.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming.
Nice to meet you.
Ah, nice to meet you guys too, good to see you.
Doris.
Our date has been set, Melissa, it will be the 26th.
Yes, I saw that, I shared it on our socials,
Yep.
and we've got it
Yep.
on our calendar too,
We've got-
so
it is on
yeah.
our calendar
We
that-
will, we'll be accepting volunteers that day as well.
All right, oh yeah, let me know if you need any supplies or anything.
Okay.
Garbage bags or anything like that. Grab 'em.
Appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
All right.
Thank you.
And
Have a great day,
have your
guys.
Thank you
volunteers-
for coming.
Melissa, have your volunteers sign up on our website, so they'll get a free t-shirt to be invited.
And for that workday, that is what I always
Yeah.
drive them to that, so
Okay.
that it can be counted in the full count.
All right, all right. And
Thank
the-
you.
The website is up and running for signups on keepmiddletownbeautiful.org. We have reserved the Verity Room at the Event Center to disperse people from and have lunch afterwards. And Julie, I would like to encourage your members to sign up to get a free
Right.
t-shirt and everything too. And that way they can sign the waiver online. So just have them go to our website and all that information is there. We are also planning on planting at least 6 trees this spring in Goldman Park. I have the bid from Brown Nursery. There'll be 2-inch B&B trees that will be guaranteed for a year. And Charlie is, I've worked with Charlie and we're gonna, you know, he's been real helpful with that. And in 2 weeks, we'll be going into the preschool at the First Presbyterian, teaching the Lorax. And thanks to Matt Armbruster, I was able to find 50 seedlings so that we can have the kids plant trees in little pots. And, you know, get them loving trees and wanting to grow trees and cherishing them. So that's on our agenda too. And hopefully, if this works out with the seedlings, we have a couple other preschools that we go to and we can get them in that too. That's what I have.
Okay.
Sign up birthday.
I did already.
I know.
We signed us all
I
up.
saw it.
What's a B&B tree?
Alden Burlap.
All the burlap.
Thank you.
Not impressed.
Sorry, I used to be hippie.
I'm still a hippie.
Okay, Golden Park.
I guess I'll start. I guess, go ahead and, I probably should put the financials first, but if you have this financial sheet, I just go by that, because that's kind of pertains to all these next 3 items. So as you go down, you can sort, and thanks to Dave for putting this together. You've probably seen this before, but this is the funding that's left over, or, you know, included with this year's budget for the remaining park projects. So we have $732,000 roughly available. Goldman, excuse me, Goldman's on that list. Excuse me, and we got the quote for the roofing, right, Charlie, and that's supposed to start,
Tomorrow.
okay. And then, refresh my memory, and sorry, we didn't talk before this, but the HVAC, the electric, and the garage door install, are those approved? Or we-
Everything was approved. The HVAC is actually finished. The new furnace is in. The electric should be starting within the next week or two. And the overhead door, I think, they're starting at the 15th or the 13th. It's in the back, the small building in the back that we're looking.
And then can you just give a brief description of those remaining items?
So this was all in a general contractor bid before, but the painting is paint the inside of the building. Plumbing, there's a few issues, water heater, replace some sinks in the kitchen, a new valve, shut-off valve. There's a little bit of termite damage on the inside and outside, on the east side of the building. It shouldn't be much to repair. Windows, because of vandalism in the past, we decided to put glass block window in, so it's, you know, still it's lighted, but it is much more secure. Done the dumpster and the cleaning, that's for whenever they come and do everything, just they throw everything away, get rid of all the trash, so. Like I said, the top four things are already approved and in process of being done, so.
So the stuff on the bottom list, that's things that they have requested, but we just haven't.
Right,
went
so,
through 'em?
so we'll get there. So I think the next priority are gonna be those unknown items. The biggest one's probably that field leveling. And I think, Steve, I know Dave mentioned you talked to somebody, or maybe you didn't. I don't mean to put you on the spot. but-
No, Dave made sure I was not gonna be put on the spot. But I do have a question. So how does this, Charlie, I think you gave us a packet?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's prices on this sheet, and then there's prices on that sheet for gold. And I feel like I just need to stay with this.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
say, sorry for the confusion, I would stay with this sheet for now.
Oh, okay, because I was trying to add up, and I hadn't gotten to see this, I had it in the bottom.
Yeah. So these prices were just, you know, what's already been quoted.
Okay.
A couple of unknowns.
Okay,
Yep.
okay, but there is other information on here
Right.
that is relevant, but kind of bypass, because some of these don't add up to that, just saying.
We'll merge the two
Okay.
after this to make
Okay.
sure it.
Okay, so, there's a guy outside of Cincinnati, David Vogel, Engineers. I turned, Greg Schwarber onto him because there's really not a whole lot of guys out there that have the experience with the whole item of a ball field. The fencing, the dugouts, the grade, the drainage, the whole 9 yards. Guys can go out there, strip a yard, or strip the field and put grass down, but, you know, are they getting the right pitch? Anyway, so apparently, and I called Greg, because he's been a little bit slow on getting hooked up with this guy. And I said, look, dude, you've got to get going on this, or we're gonna take what money is here and we're gonna apply it somewhere else. Now, that's a whole nother conversation, because this is not going to be a small item. So, the other day, Dave Vogel and Greg Schwarber met for about 4 hours. I could not make it over there. I'm really mad that I couldn't, but it was a pretty quick meeting, but that they got hooked up. So, I had asked Greg a month ago to come to this meeting. Well, without Dave here, and David Vogel, after they finally decided what all they wanted to do, needed a little time to put some numbers together. I mean, we're talking quite amount of soil that's going to have to be put together.
Did they mention about like surveying it?
It's already been done. Points have already been, yeah,
Okay.
there's been shots made all over, right,
Okay, I
for,
didn't know
for,
that.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. That's been done. Kleininger, apparently someone in the Midway establishment is at Kleininger's. So we've got points all over the fields they're looking for. So Dave's gonna need some time. They're talking about moving fencing, which again, Dave can do, or a sub would come in. All those details. So I felt like they needed a little more time because I don't wanna have 4 meetings over this. Dave called me up, Vogel called me up and asked, and I said, Dave, we really need to just get this thing streamlined so when you show up, because I'm sure he'll come, I would like him to come, and then they can give a presentation. And
Next meeting?
hopefully, hopefully, because as I said, the timeline would be that they end Midway baseball in June. If everything could come together, it would be perfect timing, because if they could get seed in the ground by mid-August, there's no reason why you can't be playing on that field this fall. If you'll get 3 cuttings on it easily,
Really?
if you have water. Now, if you get the seed in mid-August, even though some people think that's hot, it's not, it's hot, but you're getting it prepared for the fall rains that typically come. It will need 2 or 3 good heavy rains, and if it's fertilized correctly, which Dave will take care of, then you'll be amazed at how quick it will come up. But it's a very precise deal. You come in late September, then you're kind of, you're gonna be struggling.
But it would be ready for
Typical,
March, though.
Typical. Well, I mean, that, you hope so. You hope so. So we'll get something together for the next meeting. I told Dave I would help him source out soil for the project, and that's gonna be the biggest thing, is trying to calculate how much more elevation he needs to make on this.
Right.
And how much he needs to put down. But I'm very happy. I mean, Dave's coming from, he's almost an hour and a half away. I mean, he's down on the river.
And he's a contractor,
He
correct?
is the contractor.
Well, just keep in mind, we have procurement requirements.
Okay.
We have to follow, and that, we don't, so he's gonna give us some sort of rough estimate on what he
Mhm.
thinks? Okay.
So here,
Is he
but
doing every?
But
all
here,
the
but here's
fields?
what I told Greg, okay? I don't mind helping here, but I told Greg, look, I'm giving you one vendor. If there's other vendors that need
Well,
to,
that's what I'm,
then he needs to go find them, or someone else
Right.
needs to go
No,
find them.
I agree.
I'm not trying to be rude about
no,
it.
no, that's not your work.
Right, I'm maxed out on my time on this
Right.
thing, and, I get it, but I don't know who you're really gonna find, but
I
that's up
know.
to you guys, that's up to you guys.
So,
Go ahead, I'm sorry, Charlie.
so I found something today, and I forgot all about this, but in 2023, we had some work done on the fields. And All Sports had came out and gave a comprehensive bid for each field, and it was like $120,000. And the
In
city
total?
Yeah,
Okay.
and the city didn't have the money to put, at that time, to put into the field, so we did a smaller version with Oaks, some information's in there, and they did it for $25,000. They did the 6 fields, they brought in some dirt, leveled things up.
Did they do infield?
Yes, yes, yeah. And then we cut down the outfield a little bit, but with the All Sports, they were actually going to put irrigation or drainage in and really do the fields like they should be. But, that was 2023 pricing. I'm not sure it's going to be,
Well, that's
But-
to you
What
guys.
I'm getting at, we really need at least 3
3 bids.
quotes, and they need to take into account prevailing wage and all that good stuff. So,
Well,
before we get too far down the,
well, and so with this meeting, I'm gonna make very clear that Greg needs to start talking to other people than me. So, I mean, it is what it is. So that's kind of where it is, and, they, you know, they seem to have a good conversation and get it done.
Hopefully by next month, if they do come to the meeting, I mean, we'll be able to discuss.
I would think there's some things that can be plugged in. I haven't really looked at this. I know Dave, his email, what did he ask?
Well, I have a question.
Point of clarity, is the bathroom remodel
That
cost
was my question.
Yeah.
already included in the estimates provided?
Which,
It's because it's on the bottom
It
list.
is,
Yeah.
those are not.
Okay.
There's no remodel, in 2023, we actually had some, previous expenditures. We replaced all of the sinks and toilets in the restrooms. We didn't paint anything.
In 23 you did?
Yeah, yeah. We didn't remodel it because of ADA requirements. If we had changed anything inside, structurally.
Snowballs into.
It would have been a lot bigger
Mhm.
project, so we just replaced toilets
What
and
was there?
sinks.
Replace
Are those
fixtures.
restrooms connected to that building that you would be doing the work on, or is it a separate?
It's connected.
It is, okay. So the plumbing and stuff, that would have nothing to do with the restrooms?
No, that plumbing was
It's-
inside for the by the
Okay.
concession area
Okay.
and the storage rooms.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna ask probably a dumb question, but is there a difference in size between a softball field and a baseball field?
Yes.
Yes.
So it's gonna be a little
I think,
different?
They want 300 feet is what they're shooting for the outfield.
Okay.
And that's not, I think we're on one field. They're not too far.
I can't remember, but
But
they
that
have
wasn't-
90-foot. What grade do they start doing 90-foot bases?
Bases?
Yeah, I think
I can't think of it.
high school.
Oh, is it not till high school?
But they didn't request anything like that on their, I mean, list.
Request what?
To do anything like that, to change from a softball field to a
Well, they
baseball field?
requested a whole new field be built. like,
Oh,
as
okay.
a-
Yes, to
Now,
accommodate.
that's a huge project, and I think we talked offline. That's gonna sort of have to get pushed to another
Yeah,
time, or that would probably take all this money away real quick,
Okay.
so.
So, I mean, yeah, I think Greg's under the assumption that all these fields will be converted to baseball. In the sense of age appropriate.
right,
Right.
Some will not match others
Right.
because of the age group.
okay.
Okay, this is another dumb question, no baseball person here. If we go ahead and do the grading or whatever, and then at some time down the road decide to make them bigger, does that screw up? Or, or like, let's say, we're gonna do irrigation or something, does what we got now, will that screw up for the future?
I mean, they need
Julie?
leveled anyway, so even whether it's now or in the future, I think that's gonna be beneficial. Even if you change the amount of infield, like
Then-
if some of the outfield becomes infield at a later date
And
or
this would
something.
be much more beneficial to do now as opposed to any of those other things, because it would help today.
Right,
as
it's
opposed
an
to-
issue.
I see.
Today.
Okay,
There's,
just a
there's,
question.
because, just with what I have done with golf course and working on fields, there's kind of like two ways to do this. You patch up what you have. You get where the ball is safe, where you don't have humps. You don't, playing the game on the field is safe. You get it that way. And then you see, is this going to be an attraction? Is this going to actually bring in players? If it does, then you would hope that there could be some money set aside for improvements such as irrigation, some of the fancy stuff. The other way to do this is you just get it done.
Right.
You just get it all, if you have the ground ripped up, now trenching and irrigation is not a huge deal. It patches in easy. But if you have everything ripped up, and there's always these buts, but irrigation is not cheap. PVC pipe is off the chart. It's expensive. It's really, it's probably doubled in cost.
And
I
field
think-
turf is a specialized dirt also for drainage.
Yeah, for the infield, I think you're pretty good, because that's what Dave did as well. He did core samples as well. And you're pretty gravelly over there still, so percolation isn't really a big issue over there, but,
Okay.
It's just a general.
yeah.
But we just thought those later date items were gonna be too expensive, so.
Okay.
I had a question about, the bottom things that haven't been done, the painting, plumbing, dumpster, termite and all that. Is that expected to be done, or do we have to do any work to make that get done sooner rather than later, you know?
Or, I'm trying to find a general contractor to do those together.
But we don't have to do anything as far as providing money or saying anything, that's already.
That's already.
It's just a
Right,
matter
It's
of-
already in the, yeah.
Just a matter of getting it done.
Yeah.
Right, unless there's any
That's the only question.
objections, we can just move forward, so.
Dave had stressed to me, and I'm sure you guys feel the same about, should I make the motion now?
Yeah, sure.
About, getting everything approved that we had already
Oh,
got,
okay.
the
Okay.
stuff for, so I was going to make a motion to approve the, $74,122.64 for building repairs for Goldman.
All right, all in favor?
Yep.
Yep.
Do we need a second? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
Let's see, where are we at? Sherman Park, the lighting.
Yeah, so I spoke with electronics maintenance, they're getting quotes to light up the improvements. We're thinking it's gonna be about 10,000, give or take, but I should have those probably here in the next couple weeks.
I think we were hoping at some point that it came out of somebody else's budget and not ours. Is there any chance of that? Yeah.
I'll have to revisit that question and look. I mean, it's really in the park, so I can't. Let me look.
And this is lighting for like by the playground equipment,
Right.
not across the whole field or,
Correct.
Okay.
This is more for where the new improvements are located, not that whole
Okay.
open field.
okay.
We want the police to pay for that one. I keep looking at that, that's twice as big, and I keep thinking, I could do a lot of damage in there if I were messing around.
Take some donuts to Earl.
Okay, Damon Park?
David mentioned really waiting on Damon until we knew all the costs for Goldman, so.
So hopefully by next
Right,
meeting, we'll have more clarity for that.
yes.
Okay.
I had a question, I did drive by, and on that, the cuttings were all done on the basketball side, is that?
Yeah. East and west side. East and west
Which will
side
be there
halfway
too.
down.
Okay.
Yep.
But it was closer then to the street and not in the back.
Correct. I didn't go, I made the suggestion we don't go all the way down. I would hope that maybe next year we could finish that or then do it. I mean, I've been on these projects before where that probably would have been close to $6,000 or $7,000. And again, I think what I felt was, let's stay with the upper half.
No, I think you're right on that. I
Okay.
just said, is there a problem there with homeless? Like we had at Sherman, I mean, Sherman seemed to be a big problem with homeless living there.
And
There is a little bit, they'll stay on the wooded
On the
side
east
of the
side?
building, yeah. But there's been more activity, we've been out there a little bit more, and we haven't seen them in the past, maybe month or so, I guess. But, we were always finding clothes and little encampments, burn piles right there, so that has kind of went away here
Okay.
lately.
And when I drove around the back and I parked back there by the church, just kind of looking where you could see the backstop and all that, I noticed that there's lighting there.
Okay,
Isn't that right? Lighting into the park?
probably.
I was really surprised. I mean, I just looked up and happened to see that it looked to me like that could be lit there.
Another thing with Damon was the electric, so they had tore out, you can see that.
That's helpful, Charlie.
Yeah, it's
I appreciate you
destroyed,
taking those pictures. Because
destroyed.
if you've never walked over to the basketball court, you really need to, because there's a lot of damage, and that's the frustration here.
It doesn't look so bad from the street, but once you get
You
close.
you gotta walk it.
Even the
You have
playground
to
and
walk
stuff,
it.
it looks good for
Yeah,
the street, but
right.
once you get closer, you
Right.
really see it.
It's big. place is huge.
Yeah,
It's
I
nice.
scratch my head at it. Yeah, that's a lot of mowing.
So, it would be a nice place to.
So we'll just table Damon for.
I thought so, or think so.
Yeah, okay. Updated financials, which we kind of.
Oh, yeah, I kind of did that along with the
Yeah.
rest of everything, so,
Okay.
sorry for the.
Urban forestry grant update?
So, I've been meeting with Wendy Van Buren once a month. She actually provided a planting plan for Reinhardt's Boulevard and part of Miami Park. It's in the packet that, Charlie gave you. Just wanted to let everybody take a quick look at that and see what you think. She's recommending certain species to be added to the median out here, and then that would carry into the park.
Where would the trees, I mean, we already have some that are there.
Right, it would fill, she's sort of filling in the gaps.
Okay.
Is what, in her opinion, she thought that would.
So this maybe was before?
I mean, it's, what's in there is nice, and I've noticed, I mean, that, what is the 10 years it's been since some of those trees have been planted, and it looks lovely
Right.
when they're in there, but yeah, there's some that are missing.
And then also the park, so the park, and it's on the 4th page, she kind of highlights, it would be more along the fence area. And then she's gonna do this for other locations in town too, and this, this can be done with some of the grant money.
So can I ask, what are the different colors for this second page? What does yellow mean? I'm sorry, there's no key here identifying what these marks are, at least I don't see it.
The yellow highlight is where she wants to plant, is my assumption.
Yeah, it says a plant.
Okay, and then what's the green? Existing?
It looks like she's saying Norway spruce,
Oh,
Norway
yeah.
spruce.
Well, I see the abbreviations of letters, but I don't understand, I'm just curious what the green is.
There's quite a bit of, okay.
Because it's around the swings and the toddler.
Right. I have a meeting with, I'll talk to her Wednesday.
There's a
on
whole
this
bunch of pines that are in
clarification
there
on
at Miami. Is this, they wanna take the pines down or
that.
something?
No, this would be in addition to.
So, and then there's a bench going in for Vance's grandmother, I heard?
Yes.
Okay.
That's still working through the details on location.
This is at Miami?
Yes, that's correct.
And then, I mean, this was just brought up by the ex-liaison, Gary, but then there was conversation with people about converting the park over to J.D. Vance's name.
That-
Relax, that's way
Okay.
down the future.
Yeah,
I'm
that's,
I'm not.
relaxing or not, I'm just asking a question.
I'm so sick of beating that dead horse. That's all way, yeah. They're looking at potentially getting some federal funding, state funding.
Okay, it's just
It's-
a question, that's all.
Yeah, it's Miami Park, it's good.
Okay.
I was gonna say, I know we lost Jerry, and she seemed to be the connection to the people that were gonna make
We-
that happen.
well,
hope
I
we
don't know
didn't
about,
lose it.
right, I don't know about the, that part of it, but we have connections with the family too. Let me try.
Well, it wasn't necessarily the family, it was the people from the state, because she kept talking about somebody
Well,
coming down to.
I think she spoke with, George Lang and.
We all have.
Right.
No, that, it wasn't
Right.
political, it was somebody, a woman from Columbus that was gonna come with them to tour.
I mean, I think it was more about lobbying state representatives.
Right,
to
but
get
there was, I
funding.
know that she was talking about those, but there was a lane that didn't ring a bell if somebody was voting for. It was just somebody from the state that was coming to check out, like, all the parks, or doing something. I just didn't wanna lose that connection of, if there was,
If that-
for me, if there's money somewhere we can get, let's get it. So, it was just a connection that I was talking about, and it wasn't,
I mean, the biggest thing is the state infrastructure bill every year, and that's where, some local areas have gotten considerable funding for some of their parks and stuff like that, but.
well, there was
it's-
somebody, she kept talking about somebody
this-
coming for a tour. or
Right,
something, and
but
that's,
you
and there
can
was a
tour all you
name.
want, but there's, I'm telling you, at the State House, it's your reps, your senators, they have to advocate. That's where the connections are. Cause they will debate over where funding's gonna go, like, some of the infrastructure bill, a large portion of it typically goes to like universities, and you'll hear about, you know, the headlines are like, Miami University got $42 million and we can't even get $1 within the city of Middletown. That's where you have to advocate and leverage your state representatives, senators, to say, hey, like, here are our priorities, you know, for something like an infrastructure bill, right? So, but yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of talk about Miami Park. I mean,
So
it's,
if they do end up doing all this, like for JD Vance down the road or whenever,
mhm.
the park board will still be kept in the loop, or will it be like an Oakland type deal?
So it depends on where the funding comes from. So Oakland came from a development block grant.
Right.
So that was kind of different,
Yeah.
separate.
I
It
just
could
mean
be
like-
something similar.
Okay.
Yeah, it could be where it remains with staff to say, hey, this is earmarked for whatever.
I mean, I think at a minimum, we'll do a better, if we get there,
Yeah.
do a better job communicating what's happening.
So we didn't really, I
Right.
mean, anything was.
Yeah.
Even if it's like you're not,
Well, Oakland, it still seemed weird to me, it still is a park, so not that we necessarily make any decisions,
Right.
but just even the updating
Yeah.
on that, you know, we don't even hear about that.
So the other question is, if you have Vance in town from here, is there anyone from the city that can go up and start lobbying for some of this potential money that could go towards either parks or infrastructure? Is it anybody from the
it's-
city?
It's more at the state level.
I understand that.
Yeah.
Is anyone up there pounding on Thomas Hall's door? Is anyone from the city advocating for some of this money?
Yeah, I mean, there are a number of folks. I mean, we stay in communication with
Okay,
George Lang, Thomas Hall.
okay.
I mean, I don't wanna get too political, but facts are facts. And so the last few years, whether it's federal funding or even some of the state funding, there have been cities that have gotten a number of different grants, programs awarded that were more blue than red,
Mhm.
okay? Like Safer Grant, it's a perfect example, right? Went to every blue city around.
Mhm.
Philadelphia got tens of millions of dollars.
Mhm.
Up northeast Ohio, the same city won, I think, 3 years in a row.
Yeah, Toledo's
It's,
pretty,
yeah, and so, yeah, the climate's changing, but right now, it's a little bit difficult to figure out what the administration's gonna do as far as a lot of those programs while they're being audited and
Right.
trimmed, and so a lot of that stuff's kind of on pause right now, but yeah, I mean, I think right now it's just shock factor, and then things will eventually come back online, and some of the funding streams will free up, but yeah. I mean, you have to stay in close, it's a two-way street, right? So you can't always expect, like, unless somebody calls me and says, hey, there's a massive problem over my neighborhood, I may not know, right? Same thing at the state level, unless we contact our state reps to say,
Right.
hey, here's our priorities, they may not know, you know what I mean? So, but yeah.
Did you have any more on the urban forestry grant?
no, I have a meeting with her Wednesday. If anything else comes up during that, I'll forward that on to Park Board.
Are you gonna be responsible for that now, I guess?
For now, so.
I know it's
We're
one
looking
thing
to
that-
hire another person
Okay.
to help assist with that, which hopefully we can get that done in maybe the next 2 months or less.
I was thinking that was kinda like under alley or whatever.
It was, right.
Okay.
Can we hire Melissa?
Yeah, exactly. Actually, we do, well, sorry, different subject, but I deal with her, Warren County and Soil and Water, I know her boss and all that, so.
Okay, if you're finished, then we can go to comments.
I guess and this is not to be too picky, what I would suggest, if anyone invites folks like these folks from Bulls Run, I would suggest that we let Scott or Dave or Danielle know, and they're put into the agenda. That way there's an allotted amount of time. I'm not trying to be petty with it, but citizen comments are a little bit different. So if we can get them in the agenda, then they have that space. And that's my only suggestion, especially if you know someone's coming. That's why, you know, with Greg, I would've, you know, hollered at him real quick and let's get it on the agenda. And
I think I
then,
mentioned that one at the last meeting, they were coming.
Oh, okay, sorry.
and then the only other thing was, I did get some correspondence with some folks down at Sherman Park, and I don't know where this should go, because they're kind of upset with the Middletown Police Department, but that there is some drug activity going on. Scott, I don't know how, you know, I don't know how much you stay in communication with the police.
Yeah, I mean, I can certainly pass it along.
Yeah, I, you know, I don't know where that, you know, I'm not gonna go downstairs and stand at the counter and let them know, but they reached out to me, and it was like, okay.
Did they already reach out to police?
I think they have. I mean, they were actually pretty hot under the collar, but I'm not gonna, I wasn't there. That's the third side of the story. I don't know if they did or didn't, but, you know, I guess they've asked several times, and apparently a shift change has been, they're going through a shift change, so they can't get somebody out there.
That is a big, that is a big problem, so that, we tried to look into that like a year ago, because shift changes, because we don't have take-home cruisers, or even like us, even the officers that live within the city, you know, the city itself have take-home cruisers, like shift change is, yeah, if that's right when somebody's doing something,
Yeah.
it can be.
I get it.
But, I mean, if they were to call me, or if they call you again, just be like, hey, swing in and talk to PD about it, you know, I mean, unless you're gonna go down there and sit in your truck and bust them, I mean, there's
Yeah,
not much to
right.
park.
No, but as, you know, just for the park board, just to have a little communication.
Yeah.
Because Scott's down here, you're
Yeah.
kinda down here part-time,
Right, and I
right?
certainly
Charlie's
see
down here.
Chief Nelson on a somewhat regular basis.
And I know you guys are loaded,
Yeah.
trust me, you guys are loaded for bear for what you gotta do, but I just thought I would bring it up. And this to me is not a real problem, but when you do start putting new equipment in and you start highlighting the park, sometimes it can kinda go the other way. You bring in more people, and I'm just gonna be blunt, I mean, some of these parents, you know, go play while we
Yeah.
fire one up. It just is what it is. So, you know,
Crack one open.
seen it many times.
My kids.
Seen it many times, so, but anyway, thanks.
Hey, so, went by Goldman last Saturday. Jesus Christ, for a closed park, I've never seen so many kids in my life, so many cars too. I thought something was going on, you know, they were working in the building or something, but my God, it was good to see that many kids. I mean, and it was that way today too when I drove by. So, yeah, I mean, it's great. And I've been by Sherman, and it's been heavy with kids too, but man, that corner of Goldman, it's a home run.
Yeah.
Really is, looks fabulous. One thing I do have a question about, are we going to put a fence there around that corner or anything? Where,
Contract plan.
where little kids out on the playground, keep them in? Has that ever been looked
Like,
at?
just like this high, it doesn't have to, you're not talking about it.
No, not
I know what
a
you're talking about.
fence, yeah.
I guess we haven't looked at that.
I think it was discussed.
We brought it up.
The only reason I say is because there are
Not that
kids
way.
playing close to that. But that was my only
Okay.
question. Not saying, let's do it.
No, I mean, but, you
yeah.
know, that could be,
Yeah,
while
yeah.
we have some fencing work to do out there anyway.
But man,
Like
the
your
kids, unbelievable. I don't think I've seen that many kids ever there.
That is getting backfilled tomorrow, and then the sod will be in sometime in the middle of this month.
Hell, they don't care if it ever
I know,
gets
I know.
backfilled, man, they love it.
Julie?
That's it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, drove by Sunset and whoever put the mulch down, looks awesome. And,
That's, that's contract maintenance.
is that the only park that gets mulch, or?
No, we have a contract for Sunset for the Gateway.
Is it the same
Central-
guys?
Central Avenue.
Yes.
That do, yeah, they had a semi with a blower up there.
Okay.
That's how much mulch they were bringing in up there by Gateway.
But a lot of the other parks we do in-house.
Yeah.
Well, it looks really nice, and whoever did it, it really looks nice. And at Sherman, when I drove by, and it was a colder day, and it was 4:30 after school, and there were kids playing in coats, almost a hat, I mean, it was that kind of chilly day, but they were out there on the basketball court. But the one question that I had, we had talked about maybe putting a little chain across that little driveway that goes up into the park, because you can still pull a car.
Yeah.
And that was the one
Yeah,
people
we need to- we
complained
did-
about,
right.
people driving up there and sitting up there where you
I
really
think
can't
we
see them.
talked about putting, sorry,
Yeah, you can't see them, she said they would go up there and that's when they would
some sort of
take their
like,
little prostitute up there. That's what she was talking
yeah,
about.
post and cable,
I had no idea.
Or a bollard.
yeah, bollard, but then you can still drive around the bollard and drive right up, so I don't know.
But it would stop
Yeah,
some.
yeah.
That was a question I had. And then I ended up driving by Crawford, and the sign there, the south-facing side is missing its face.
Yeah, we have that in the office, somebody
Okay.
vandalized it. so-
That's what I figured, just pulled it right off. And then I had a question about when I drove by Oakland, which is lovely, by the way, and 2 basketball courts and 2 pickleball?
Yes.
What's going in at the concrete end, which would be the west end with all that concrete that's there? It's not grassy, it's concrete.
So the shelter will be
Well,
over
in
near
there.
the playground, and then it's getting a new playground and exercise equipment. But the concrete, most of that is just gonna be concrete like it would be existing.
Okay. Well, it looked like maybe something fun was, I didn't know whether there was.
That's the
Cool
shelter,
stuff.
so there's a cutout right now,
Okay.
21 by 21 foot.
Okay.
And then
And I
it's
just
the-
drove by, and I was looking, so trying to figure out what was going on. Okay, and then the last question I have is there any plan for what's gonna go in at Mom when it doesn't exist anymore?
What do you mean? Mom's gonna be around forever.
Oh, I heard they were done. From somebody from Oxford.
Yeah, it's been,
I heard it was
I mean,
a rumor.
I don't know. I mean,
I mean, that's state-owned property.
yeah.
Okay, yeah, I heard this was the last
I mean,
semester.
I had no idea, but I did not know that, so.
Yeah, and I wondered, and I thought, Cincinnati State's in there as well, right?
Yeah, but not much. I mean, you can drive down in there, like, say like a Tuesday at 10 a.m., which, when I went there, you know,
Packed.
I mean, you'd be parking all the way up
Right.
at the top. I went there a couple weeks ago for a meeting at like 10:30 on a Tuesday or Wednesday. And I'm not joking, there were like 15 cars in the parking lot. So, Cincinnati State is there, but from what I've heard, it's only a handful of classes here and there.
Yeah, I heard, I don't know anything about Cincinnati State, all I heard is that my Miami connection said this, she had told me before Christmas that this was last semester
Wow.
here. And I wondered what would happen to the property.
Yeah, I mean, it's state-owned property, so.
Yeah.
So we do not own that property,
No.
but Miami does not own that property.
The state of Ohio. owns
State
that
of
property.
Cause they've got the archives building there.
I just know looking at the property, you know, just because we look at property maps for different things, I just always went that state of Ohio property.
So they would be in control, okay.
Kinda hard to say what you would put there.
Couple hotels.
And I don't have anything to say to this.
Municipal garage.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Ah,
All right.
One other thing, that the border at Sherman is going in today.
Oh, okay.
and tomorrow,
Oh, wow.
so Should be finished